Different circuit here in Shanghai from the one that we saw during qualifying. As you can see, it is a fairly miserable looking track. Cars will start the race behind the safety car, we're being told, and it seems that everybody is on wet weather tyres. Ivan Muller, one of those who made a last-minute pit call before coming back to the grid, but he is there ready to start this race from pole position. 9th and 10th on the grid, the two Castrol Hondas, Gabriele Tarquini and Thiago Monteiro. They will start first, Monteiro, and second, Tarquini, in race 2, looking for a race 2 reverse grid victory. And further on down, this bumper field of 31 cars. Right at the very back, though, with a penalty, Ted Björk, after qualifying the car, found to be a little too light. He got a grid drop down the order after being very quick in qualifying, and the Volvo's one-off appearance. So we will get ready for the start of this race, round 21 of the championship here in Shanghai, in just a moment.
Yokohama, your tire.
Cars rolling off on the formation lap on a track still damp after a little earlier rain. You can see under the start-finish line, the walkover bridge, it is bone dry. And as we get ready for round 21 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship, looking on board at our world champion, Ivan Muller, and Harry Volkart sitting alongside me watching here, and you can see it's pretty twitchy. Let's hear from him. He is on slicks.
Hello everybody. Welcome in Shanghai, in my Lucol RML car. As you can see, the track is pretty damp on some places and just damp on some others. The problem was to do the right tire choice 7 minutes ago. We'll see if I did the right choice. I put 4 slicks all around. Some are on for wet. Some has some mixture. Of what I can see right now, if the track dry up, I should be the right. If the rain is coming back, it will be hard, of course. But yeah, it will be tough. At the moment, I just try to carry on some temperature in my slicks, which is quite difficult, especially on the damp. So, guys, enjoy the race. I will leave you the microphone because I have to be focused 100% of what I am doing. See you later. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it wouldn't help much if he goes off on the formation lap or on the first lap of the race, as it is now. So the race has started, because it is starting behind the safety car. Wouldn't be too clever if he goes off talking to us and missing his braking point. So Harry Volkart, we've got the two RML cars on the front of the grid on slick tyres. We know from what we've just seen, Pepe Oriola, who lines up in 3rd place, or who is now racing in 3rd place, because this is now a race, in the blue Chevrolet there, he's on wets. We were told that the rest of the field is on wets. Now, my understanding of the rules were that if it was declared a wet race, you were allowed to use wet tyres. In fact, no, it is mandatory to use wet tyres. You're not allowed to gamble. My understanding also was that if it's not declared a wet race, you can't use wet tyres, but maybe I didn't quite understand that. Maybe the two don't go hand in hand. But we are still behind the safety car, and an answer to one of our tweeters a few minutes ago, does the safety car then add laps to the race? As we now see, yes, it does. So this will now become not a 10-lap shortened from 13-lap race, but a 12-lap lengthened from 10-lap, shortened from 13-lap race. Are you still with me? It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? And you can see there are little spits and spots of spray on Tom Chilton's windscreen, but I mean, clearly this is a real in-between situation.
It is, and interestingly, Van said there that there's some cars on a mixture of tyres set up, so that'll be where some guys have...
No, that's illegal. You absolutely are no longer allowed to have different tyres on different axles. It's got to be slicks or wets. They banned that one when Tom Coronel won in Japan for being clever by that.
Are you sure? I mean,
yeah.
he definitely said that, but maybe his engineers got it wrong. But
oh, I don't know.
I mean, we certainly saw on the rear of Pepe Oriola's car, he's definitely got a wet tyre on the rear. I'm not sure about the front. Both Bamboo cars look like they were on slicks as well, so
right.
I guess we'll see what goes on at the start of this race. But it looks to me, I would say, I mean, there's not a lot of spray coming up there. It's obviously difficult situations, but I would imagine that the slick tyre is going to be, well, although you can see a little bit of spray there, so I don't know.
Well, safety cars coming in this lap, so Bruno Correa is obviously having enough of a handful in the Maserati safety car. You can see just how limited the visibility is, though. Conditions of low cloud and smog together with a little bit of spray aren't going to make this great for visibility, but it should be enough for the drivers to see. And certainly in the big grandstands that are packed with Chinese fans, they'll be able to see the cars coming by. On board as the safety car is getting ready to come in with James Nash, who may well end today as the Yokohama Trophy champion for 2013. Round 21 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Safety car is peeling off. It is Ivan Muller from Tom Chilton and the blue Chevrolet of Pepe Oriola. That is the order. They are exactly in their grid order because we've been behind safety car for 2 laps, and now they're going to be released for 10 laps of green flag racing in a 13-lap race, shortened to 10 and now lengthened by 2 laps of safety car. So away we go, and of course they're all now in line astern. You can see Thiago Monteiro tucking out in the Honda, getting a look from behind this car, Gabriele Tarquini. Rob Huff right in front. We hear this morning he's going to join James Thompson and Mikael Kozlowski at Lada next year. And there is Thompson getting pushed sideways as McDowell makes contact with Nash on the inside. James survives. Harry, a little bit entertaining from those 2 teammates. And here, Pepe Oriola having a look inside Tom Chilton as well.
Yeah, Oriola's obviously...
Oh, sorry, Mikulic's just got knocked sideways as I stopped talking to let you talk, and little contact with Rob Huff.
Oriola's definitely on wets. You can see he made that look easy going past Chilton, but this is why they've shortened the race distance. There he goes passing Muller as well, so obviously he's got a lot more grip than these guys in front of him. We'll see him scamper away, I would imagine now, but that's why the race distance has been shortened, because obviously you've got some guys on wet tyres, and as we know, this is a very high degradation circuit on tyres anyway, so that's the reason for the shortened race.
Oh, and off in the background is either Fernando Monche or Hugo Vallant, the 2 red and white Campos cars. A bit hard to tell apart when they're spinning. It is Hugo Vallant, so he is out. Started in 16th place. And it is very tippy-toe. Okay, enough of that, thank you. It is very tippy-toe. Now, Oriola really has to escape because the track is not going to get any wetter unless it starts to rain, which means that every lap is going to be less wet weather tyre territory and more coming to the slick-shod drivers.
Yeah, and the proper block wet seats as well, so they won't work in an intermediate situation. The tyre treads and the blocks all heat up and they start wandering around all over the track, and it makes things very difficult to drive.
And Vallant got tagged in the background. No, he didn't get hit by Engsler, went across the nose of Engsler. I'm not sure. It was a white car that seemed to... Oh, no. Yeah, sort of got... Yeah, he did actually get across the nose of Engsler right in front of Mark Basseng, so... he wasn't had off by Engsler. Noticing, actually, very interestingly, when they got to the hairpin, how much the 2 red and white RML Chevrolets closed up on Oriola, even though he should have better grip under braking as well.
Yeah, it also helps, so obviously these guys can see where he's braking, and they know he's got a bit more grip, but it'll give them something to kind of, you know, judge their braking point by. But I mean, he was a second ahead of Muller on that last lap, on that first lap, sorry, should we say, but I thought it would be a bigger difference in that.
Rydell in the black and white Chevrolet getting inside Alex McDowell onto the start-finish line, so he picks up 5th place, and just little contact with James Nash there for 4th. Didn't get through. Rob Huff in the first of the black and red Chevrolets. Seats is right there as well. Looking back from James Nash, so he's got Rydell alongside, and past goes Ricard.
I think Rydell's obviously on wets as well here.
If the two Bamboo guys are on slicks like the two RML guys, that's why they're getting eaten up by the Chevy and of Rickard Rydell, and also, of course, by Rob Huff in that Seat. Oriola's not escaping, though, is he?
No, he's not as much as I thought he would.
Bassin goes down the inside of Coronel, and the one thing that we know is historically the BMWs do not like slippery or wet or cold conditions. The front-wheel drive cars work their tyres more efficiently, keep the heat in them. The BMWs just lose tyre temperature all the way through a wet race. Well, Nash still just in front of McDowell and Huff. This is 5th, 6th and 7th on board with Huffy. 6th gear you can see on the register there, and getting back in the right direction is Marco Locke. Long run down the straight, and Harry, I imagine very easy when you've been sitting at full throttle for 15 seconds to misjudge the braking by a tenth or so, and that makes a huge difference in these cars.
Yeah, you could hear on the downshifts there, Rob was locking slightly on the front end. You can hear it a little bit there as well. Just, it's obviously very, very slippy out there.
So we don't have a definitive list of who is on wets and who is on slicks. We do know that Pepe Oriola, our race leader, is on wets. The two cars, 2nd and 3rd, are on slicks. You've got to assume that Rydell is on wets. And Huff has got a big moment there turning into turn 1. Really huge slide.
Well held, that was a massive moment, that wasn't it?
Yeah, a couple of very big moments. As soon as he turned it, it was desperately trying to spin on him. So the Bamboo cars get back by. So
Oriola did a 208.1 on that last lap, and Muller did a 208.4.9. So that it's actually not that much of a deficit to be on the 6. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, obviously, Oriola's going to go backwards, I think, from there.
Yeah, he's not getting away fast enough, I'm afraid, because it's not wet enough to keep the wet tyre really healthy for the rest of the laps. I mean, one of the big advantages, I suppose, is they do have that big long straight, which has got a great cooling effect as McDowell gets a massive twitch on there, and that gives Huff an opportunity because he's got momentum. Here comes Tarquini behind as well. He's got by Norbert Mikulits, and that was on that lap. So Tarquini in 8th. Huff goes through to 6th position ahead of McDowell, who's now down to 7th from 5th on the grid. This is the choice you make when you gamble on a slick. You know there's going to be pain. You hope that the pain doesn't last all race long, and you can see it is so close. McDowell's car looks a bit more twitchy than Huff's, but only a bit, and there's Ted Björk. So what happened to the Volvo? On board with Rob Huff down the long back straight here at the Shanghai International Circuit. Oh, and another big lock-up for Huffy, went straight past the corner, and on the inside there's Alex McDowell.
Yeah,
and in the middle is Tarquini in the Honda.
Yeah, it's all heating up around there, but that was close. I mean, you can just hear on the brakes there, it's a great shot. You can hear the lock-up effect as he's going down the gearbox. The front end just not got the grip to sustain that sort of retardation on the brakes.
Well, Rickard Rydell, 4th place at the moment in the black and white Chevrolet, is still charging off after leaders. Pepe Oriola again fastest on that lap, 207.52 to 207.75 for Muller. So he's keeping that sort of 4 tenths per lap advantage alive, and the gap is now out to 1.1 seconds over Ivan. So he is just creeping away a little.
The track seems to be speeding up a little bit as well, which is unusual. Maybe it's just as they're finding more grip as they're going around, but...
Yeah.
Some parts of the circuit seem a lot wetter, don't they?
Yes, and there's James Nash finding a wetter bit there. What did he do? 209.3 compared to 207.5 of Oriola on wets, but also 207.7 of Muller on slicks as well. So McDowell and Nash not quite on the pace of the world champion. And finding just a little bit more of a struggle. Again, Alex McDowell having a... I mean, he didn't duck out there so much as the car kind of snapped him sideways off the curb, and he just went with it to stop it spinning. Yeah, it's one of those lethal situations. He touches a slightly damp curb like that on the outside, and it wants to turn the car around. In fact, his car looks a pretty evil handful, you've got to say. Of the two Bamboo cars in their new red and blue livery, that is the one where the tail is wagging the dog more notably than James Nash's. Yeah, it does. It looks like he's holding on there. And that's sort of allowing Nash just to creep away a little bit, and as he does so, Harry, it allows him to focus on just driving his car and not defending against McDowell and Huff, and that helps him be smoother and quicker as well.
Yeah, it's also really difficult battling with your teammate, because you don't want to slow each other up, but on the same note, you still would need to beat each other. And like in their situation, obviously they're still battling for the Independence Championship and overall positions as well. So they can't give too much.
Yeah. Look how close we get. James Nash third in the overall championship, as we get now a chance perhaps for Ivan Muller to retake the lead of the race. Last time round, Pepe Oriola was not as quick. Tom Chilton, the fastest man, 206.2 to 207.6 of Oriola. The gap went from 1.1 to 0.1 seconds on that last lap, from the blue car in the lead to the red and white car of Ivan Muller in second place. That's it. Wet tyres are done now. This is now a slick tyre race.
Yeah. I mean, I actually thought Oriola would have had a bit more of an advantage at the start there, but obviously it was just on the turn. It was
on the cusp.
Yeah.
And you see, that's where Ivan's vast experience really helps him to make the choice. And with, and this is what Tom Chilton has gained from being Ivan's partner all year long. If he's got 20 years of saloon car racing experience, Ivan Muller, and Chilton's going, right, well, if he's doing it, I'm doing it as well. And he's making, therefore, a choice based on somebody else's wealth of knowledge that he might not have made on his own, but because he's now committed to that choice, now he learns what it's like, and that all helps with his education as a young driver. So having an older, more experienced teammate like that really pays dividends.
Yeah, you've got the master to learn from there, haven't you? And you can come back in. Tom's come on really well this year, and he's always been a quick driver, but he's certainly found a lot of pace this season, and I'm sure he'd be the first to admit it has been a massive help being Ivan's teammate. And with such an experienced team who know all about these cars, you can go in, look at his data and say, right, I need to brake here, or I need to be on the throttle a tenth of a second earlier in that corner, and that's where the time comes.
Just saw a picture of Stuart Carey, the team boss at RML, and Manel Huguet, who is Pepe Oriola's race engineer, as his boy sits out front battling for the lead with Ivan Muller. Oh, and again, Muller with the grip there on the slick. Under braking, we saw it before at the hairpin a couple of laps ago. The wet weather tyre just not able to control the weight of the car with those tread blocks moving around. And Oriola has lost the lead to Muller, and Chilton is going through for second place. And again, it may not be done on the straight, but it will be done under braking. And in the background, look, the black and white car of Rickard Rydell, which sped away early. We thought he was on wets, and now it looks to be exactly the same story, because Nash and McDowell are all over him. James Nash has got by Rydell, in fact, already by the line. And we're with Oriola back down to third where he qualified. Question is, can he finish in third? Oh dear, that car understeering horribly there.
Yeah, it looks awful now. There's nothing worse than being in that situation either. You can't put the car where you need to put it, and we just saw Ivan just took the car at the inside and outgun him just on pure grip off the corner.
See, now for the cars on slicks, it feels like it's a dry track, and for the cars on wets, it feels like it's a wet track and you're on slicks, because the tyre is starting to squirm, it's overheating, it's sliding around a lot. It's worse now as the track feels better for those that started on slicks. It starts to feel much worse for those that started on wets. And Rydell's time in fourth place, I'm afraid, is very short-lived. Look at the queue of cars behind.
Yeah, this looks like they're going to have to push the issue. I think James is going to have to force his way through it sooner rather than later, because, like you say, these guys are all jostling for position behind him.
Well, the good news for James in the first of those Red Bamboo Engineering Chevrolets is that he's got Alex McDowell fighting a fantastic rear guard action against all comers. Huff, right, I'll have him. No, he's not there. Reigning world champion, no, he can't come by. A couple of times years ago, Tarquini world champion, no, he's not coming by either. But Rydell, Nash again with grip on the inside to spare. He's just going to drive past him, isn't he? And once you've got that advantage going onto the straight, it just sort of exaggerates itself all the way down here, and he'll go into the braking area with grip to spare and stay in front of Rydell. And McDowell has gone through too. Where's Rydell? Is Tarquini gone by? Yes. Not yet, but he will do on the exit. There's Rickard. And he's not trying to stay out of the way, is he? He's just trying to keep the car on the track at the moment. Yeah, obviously he's coming off that corner, and he's got to have some steering lock on and get on the throttle. And as you mentioned, Martin, with these tyres now, they're just going to be like big balls of chewing gum effectively, in lose-lose situation. Looking here at the battle for 4th place, 2 red cars of James Nash and Alex McDowell, with Gabriele Tarquini's red and white Honda, Rob Huff and Norbert Mikulits side by side. Mikulits in the Honda, the orange and black car, can't hold the tight line, only just got that back, ran into Huffy, but Huff in that red and black Seat managing to hang on. The news that Huff has signed for Lada suggests to me that very likely Marc Basseng and René Munich will not be able to find a car to race in next year's World Touring Car Championship. I wondered whether they might have been able to hook themselves up with some of the new RML Chevrolets that we believe are coming, but it would seem not. Muller's last lap, 2:05.0, that's still 10 seconds away from what he managed in qualifying. He set a new track record in qualifying with a 1:54 lap, but, sorry, 1:53.4, so 11 seconds slower, but it is a lot quicker than they were at the start of the race, Harry.
Yeah, that was amazing, actually. All of the cars down to 11th place were faster. They were all under the lap record from last year.
Yeah, right, that is a big improvement, and all the lap records, of course, next year are going to be shattered. The new, for 2014 regulations, more power, bigger brakes, bigger tyres, more aero. The cars are estimated to be, or the intention is to make them 1.5 seconds a lap quicker, a kilometre quicker than the current cars. James Thompson on the left of your screen, coming up the inside, trying to get a run going on Thiago Monteiro, didn't manage to do it there. You can see just a couple of cars, in fact, right behind him with the other Union flag on the car, that's Tom Boardman, so he's had a good run from way back on the grid. He was in 19th place after qualifying.
Oh, you could hear the wheel spin off there, James Thompson's car coming off the corner there.
Yes. So Tomo in 11th place at the moment, Monteiro in 10th. Looking here at the 2 red Bamboo Engineering Chevys, Nash and McDowell, the gap forward to Oriola is still 5 seconds, and we're on lap 10 of 12, so they may not catch Oriola for the podium. Oriola's already 6 seconds behind Muller, the race leader, though, as Monteiro battles with Mikulits, and that is 8th and 9th, right in front. Oh, has Carnell got by Thompson then? He has. No, he hasn't, sorry. Why did I think it was Carnell's on board? Very bizarre. Carnell is just behind this little group, but the BMW's making no progress at all. In fact, Tom is going further back. Very disappointed after qualifying. Got kept out of the top 12 by a car that is theoretically invisible. Still not quite sure what was going on with that. It's probably one for another day. Thiago Monteiro right in front of us, twitching and struggling for grip.
Yeah, on the entry. I mean, it's a short wheelbase car as well, the Honda, so it is quite nimble, and it's very beneficial on some corners, but that sort of sweeping entry that we just saw there, you could see the back just try to get around.
Of course, that's how the cars are set up, Harry, to keep the front tyres in hot conditions and dry conditions in as good a state as possible. You make it a bit tail happy, but of course, you know, that means that when it gets wet, it gets very tail happy. On our left there, out of shot, was Gabriele Tarquini. Here's a straight run drag race. Neither of them, well, Tarquini's more in the line of the slipstream from the cars in front, but Thompson on the inside, is he going to get by Gabriele? Is he going to stay in front of Gabriele? On board with Rob Huff. That's chasing Tarquini, sorry, it's not, it's Thompson and Monteiro in the background, isn't it? And he did get by Thiago Monteiro's Honda.
We know that Lada's very fast in a straight line as well, and obviously it's a narrow body, so it benefits from the slipstream more than other cars do. And I know James is a little bit frustrated with his qualifying effort, but you know, we'll see it make some progress in the race. Yeah,
Rob Huff there, still all over the back of Gabriele Tarquini, and the car's still not looking comfortable, is it? Still very wayward. Right behind the Honda, who has a second stab at the brakes in the middle of that corner 1 complex. So in front, you've still got Nash and McDowell, 4th and 5th, and Tarquini there in 6th. We're with Huff in 7th. He's got Mikulits behind him in 8th. Dropping away into the clutches of Thompson, though. Thompson in 9th place already ahead of Monteiro. And Tom Boardman trying to get by Monteiro for 10th place. That's the black Seat with the Union flag on the roof you just saw flashing through the back of the shot. One of our Chinese or Macanese drivers we just saw being lapped. Not going to go all the way down the timing, so it might have been Henry Ho, I think, probably. And then, oof, God, Huffy pulls out, the car trying to spin on him, going down the straight, just as he ducks out of the slipstream of Tarquini to have a little dabble on the brakes. Car having a big twitch. Lots of fans here from the Shanghai area watching the Chinese Touring Car Championship. This is a massive, massive TV draw in China now. Really starting to become very big news. And Oriola, well, I said they weren't going to catch him. As ever, only open my mouth to change feet. Oriola has been caught now by Nash, McDowell, Tarquini, Huff, Mikulits, Thompson, Montero, Boardman.
Two seconds he lost on the last lap there.
And that means that the tyres have not only gone off, they're almost falling off the rims. One lap to hang on to third place for Pepe Oriola. You can see Muller and Chilton going 1-2, and will Muller pull over and let Chilton win the race to get more points to try and secure that runner-up spot and a driver 1-2 in the championship for RML, who may well go on to win the Yokohama Trophy Teams competition here. Boardman having a last lap look at Thiago Montero, went out wide to try and cut in on the inside. They overlapped mid-corner, little bit of touching between the two of them. That's just enough to unsettle Montero's Honda, and Boardman goes through.
Yeah, it was a good move by Tom.
And that's touring cars. I mean, that was not a malicious, dirty move. That was just how touring cars are raced.
Yeah, just a little tap. It wasn't anything major, but yeah, you're right. It was a great move there. It looks like the sets are actually getting quite strong towards the end of the race here.
Fastest race lap for Tom Coronel in 12th place at 2:02.7, and here comes Chilton, and Muller, I would think, will let him go, maybe at the end of the long straight. Tom is close enough, and Ivan said after qualifying, yes, I do want to try and help Tom. You know, he's had a good time at RML with the factory Chevrolets and here this year with the privateer Chevrolets. You know, he's won the World Championship title with them, and he wants to leave on as good a note as he possibly can, because he's had, you know, a couple of good relationships within the team, a couple of several very good years with RML, and if he can help Chilton to second.
He's gone defensive there, hasn't he?
Championship. Well, he is defending.
I thought you were right there. I thought you would have conceded, but certainly didn't get anything there.
You know, Ivan wants to win the races, doesn't he? Here comes Tom Chilton. He's having a go. Incidentally, little black stripe on the right-hand side front wing, and also black armbands being worn by the RML team in honour of their former colleague Vince Mitchell, who lost his battle to cancer just recently. And there at the line, Tom Chilton takes victory from Ivan Muller, or rather Ivan Muller allows Tom Chilton to take victory, and it is going to be third place for James Nash, fourth for Alex McDowell. Who's going to be fifth? Is it Pepe Oriola? Yes, it is. Sixth is Huff, seventh is everyone else. Blimey, seventh is Boardman? No, Thompson seventh, Boardman eighth.
Tarquini seventh.
Sorry, Tarquini seventh, Thompson eighth, Boardman ninth. Looked at the line as though Boardman had got by, actually. Got by both of them on the inside run.
But Boardman's had a blinding last few laps.
Yeah, really good run.
Set the fastest overall first sector out of everyone there on that last lap.
Yeah. So victory for Tom Chilton, vital points and a big thumbs up for teammate Ivan Muller. Thank you for that. That was probably always the plan, to not throw anything away before they knew that it was a chance of giving him a victory. So you don't do that early on when you're scrabbling around on wet weather tyres. You do that on the last lap when everything is pretty much sorted. There's Richard Coleman, looking pretty happy in the bamboo pit wall that they got away with that one. James Nash, third place overall, ahead of teammate Alex McDowell in fourth.
Yokohama, your tire.
World champion Ivan Muller, Chris Cronin, his race engineer. See, now there's a long partnership. Next year, Cronin will likely be engineering somebody else, and Ivan will have a different engineer from Citroën. So it'll be start again, learning that dialogue. And Tom Chilton, well, where's he going to be next year? You would think that he would love dearly to stay with RML and with a brand new Chevy Cruze, and I'm sure they would be very happy to keep him. Well, they made a race of it in the end, and there is James Nash. Has he got enough points? I think he might just have done to, I'm not sure, still with double points for Macau. I'm not going to confirm him yet as the champion because I haven't got the time or the energy or the inclination to do the maths. Big crowd in that Formula One grandstand there, right in front of the pit lane, and that's always good. You know, it gives the drivers a bit of an atmosphere as well, especially when you're a long way from home and, you know, at a track for some of them that they've not been to before. Really good to have plenty of applause and lots of cheers for James Nash and Alex McDowell there. Well, Ben Constantiouris is down in the Parc Fermé, so let's hear from our race winner.
Tom Chilton, you put on a fantastic show for us there, winning your second race in World Touring Cars in the hardest conditions.
Yeah, when we were on the grid, obviously we'd done an outlap, and we went out on our wet tyres because it was designated a wet race, which means we leave our lights on, put our heated screens on, and we put wet tyres on. But I know that round here it's very hard on its tyres, so I was a bit concerned about the wet tyre lasting that long, especially if it dried up. When I was out there, it never really dried, to be honest, but because the corners are such long-loading corners, the slicks we thought was going to be a benefit. And I'm really happy that we made that call on the grid at the last minute, and it was very tricky.
You took some time to get past Ivan, though.
I did, yeah. You know, at the end of the day, he's 4 times world champion. He's pushing as hard as he possibly can, and I know that he likes his car a little bit more nervous. And I noticed on the last corner he was struggling for the last few laps of the race, and I was gaining a little bit of a run. But he just pushed a little bit too hard on his last lap, and he got a little bit too much oversteer, which meant I could get close enough on the back straight for an actual tow. It's the first time all weekend I've got a tow, and I got a really good slipstream, and I was obviously going to outbrake him on the inside, but Ivan completely defended, and I ended up coming exactly alongside him to make sure that I could get the best amount of traction taken off the lock early out the hairpin. And he didn't give up into the last corner, and I was a little bit concerned actually he was going to push me wide onto the green grasscrete and I would have got a lot of wheel spin. I just slightly touched it, but I just got enough traction that I think I crossed the line 100th or 1,000th ahead. It was very, very close.
Congratulations, Tom. We're going to bring in the third place driver who also won the Yokohama Trophy, James Nash. James, a very difficult race. You went out on the slick tyres and you were in amongst the wet, dry runners.
Yeah, it was tough. We made the call fairly early on to go full wets. Yeah, it's going to be a tough call because so difficult under braking. There's some big brake zones here, and you load up the rear a lot. Our teammate, I think, made the better call with the wet rears and the slick fronts, but we held him off, and yeah, we got Pepe at the end, which was really nice. Aiming for Tom in the championship and Gabriele, unfortunately, with Ivan's help, that's sort of slowed our progress down.
Just to clarify, you're on slick tyres, yeah?
Full slicks, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Go Zen right.
Okay, so let's see if I can remember this correctly. If it's declared a wet race, you are allowed to use wets but not slicks. But I thought after Tom Coronel won in Japan with wet front and slick rears, I thought the rule was it was slicks or wets. I didn't think you were allowed to mix, but again, I don't read the rule book regularly. It was just my understanding of it. So I'm sure if the team went with a mixed setup, then they're hopefully better informed than I am.
That explains why Alex looked so leery at the back end, because obviously his wet tyres would have been going off on the rear towards the end there when we noticed that he was getting a lot of oversteer, like more than you'd probably want. But yeah, that makes perfect sense.
James Nash now 35 points clear of teammate Alex McDowell in the Yokohama Trophy race. 54 points still to be had, says Touring Car Times, is Neil Hudson, the man with the calculator, although he hasn't shown his working outs in the margin, so I'm still not going with that. Ivan Muller and Tom Chilton 1-2 here, and of course Muller trying to get Chilton up to second place in the championship ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. That might take a setback in race 2, where Tarquini starts second on the grid and Chilton and Muller will be 9th and 10th, as Tarquini and Montero were in race 1, so it could be honours even and all going to Macau for that runner-up spot in the championship. And there are the classified finishers. And no start from Ted Björk, waiting to find out from Volvo whether or not he will make the start of race 2. There's Eve, our cameraman, not enjoying the drizzle.
at the very start of the very exciting race here in Shanghai. A press release was announced, and Rob Huff has a drive for next year with a works team. Rob, what's it like driving for Lada?
You know, it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited about it. Joining forces with Tomo and Michael. You know, a team that have proved themselves, getting towards the front of the grid, learning every time they're out, getting faster and faster. You know, to join them is a dream come true. Back with the manufacturer, 2-year contract, and yeah, couldn't be more happy.
Does it present a realistic opportunity to fight for a championship again?
Yeah, I think so. You know, with my experiences in the past, obviously with RML, 2 development cars over those 8 years, and both cars we got winning. So I think there's no reason why we can't do the same with Lada. Obviously, a lot of experience with Jimmy and myself, and the young charger of Michael. But I want to say thank you to the All Inkle team. You know, they've really looked after me this year. But yeah, very, very excited for next year with Lada.
Thanks very much, Rob, and enjoy the second race.
Cheers, thank you. Slippery out there, so should be good.
Be careful out there, everybody. That's another reference for us 80s lads, by the way. Swedish House Mafia and Hill Street Blues, all in the same weekend.